Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
We bring you something quite unusual but interesting and important for you on Cut the Clutter today. We step away from our routine themes and look at a big picture issue that has now emerged. What's happened is that the usual suspect, the Lancet, I say the usual suspect respectfully and affectionately, the Lancet has published a very important paper predicting population patterns or population trends globally and for individual countries up to the end of this century, that is up to 2100. And they have projected what will happen at the end of each decade, at various intervals, and in the next 80 years. Now that has thrown up some very interesting data. And first of all, the headline for me is that this puts in perspective and it gives a reality check to all this fear mongering about population explosion, or what is called as population explosion in India. In fact, you say India population on Google, chances are that something will show up population explosion. So there is a feeling that Indian population is exploding. This is the biggest challenge for India. It's out of control. It's running rampant. Prime Minister Narendra Modi mentioned it in his Independence Day speech last year, where he said this is a big problem, it's a big threat to the country. Then respected members of the BJP, senior members, Giriraj Singh for example, they've been talking about a law to limit the number of babies people can have, because they say population quote unquote explosion in India is a big problem. Now what does this study tell you? First of all, we have seen many studies already, and we have also seen trends in our census, and also we've seen annual data to indicate to us that picture on the population increase front is not as alarming as we might have imagined it to be 30 years back, 20 years back, 10 years back, even 5 years back. That's because our social and our health and socio-economic indicators are changing. More women are getting literate, more contraception is available, more people are working. So those are things that persuade families to have fewer babies and also to have them later. But this data and this study is very significant. One, because it's a very sizable study. It's been done by a large group of scientists, so many that if I started reading out all the names for you, it will take a long time. So you will see the names on the screen and you will see a link to the full study with today's description. Now this study is called Fertility, Mortality, Migration and Population Scenarios for 195 countries and territories between 2017 and 2100. A forecasting analysis for the global burden of disease study. So the study is global burden of disease. This is funded by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and the institution doing this is the Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation, which is quite reputed in this field. Now, what does this study say? This study tells you that India's population in 2100, and you might say, oh, 2100 is a long time away. Most of us, at least those of us who are adults, are unlikely to be around then. In 2100, India's population, if you ask anybody on the street, भाई हमारी population कितनी हो जाएगी सन 21 में, 200 करोड़ हो जाएगी, 250 करोड़ हो जाएगी, इतनी नहीं होगी. कितनी हो जाएगी? Somebody might say, oh, today it's 138 crores, maybe it will be 180 crores, nothing of the sort. This study tells you that India's population in 2100 will actually be 109 crores, which is about 30 crores less than it is right now. Counterintuitive, I will tell you the evidence and I will tell you the logic on which these figures have been arrived at. This study has not looked at what is conventionally looked at by, say, UNPD, that is United Nations Population Department. UNPD usually looks at something called TFR, which is total fertility rate. That is the average number of babies a woman will produce in her life. This makes it more precise. They call it CCFR 50, which is completed cohort fertility rate up to the age of 50. So they take all the women in the age group of 15 to 49. That is the reproductive age group. Then put in other variables, for example, literacy, education, the test being education for 16 years, and availability of contraception. And then you see how this will change over the next 80 years and then arrive at the figure. So following that logic and that formula of CCFR at 50, that is completed cohort fertility at 50, they have arrived at these figures. Now what is TFR? We told you total number of babies a woman on an average will produce in a population in her reproductive lifetime. A number of 2.1% TFR per year would take you to replacement value of your population, which means if your TFR is less than that, then you are not replacing those in your population who are dying. India's TFR at this point is 2.4%. So India is still adding more than are going away. So India is replacing more than is needed just to maintain this population level. That's why India's population will still keep going up for some time. But in 2100, India's TFR, total fertility rate, even if you go by the current conventional calculations, it will be 1.29. That is what this study says. That's why India's population, according to this study, will now keep rise much slower than we would have imagined earlier, will rise much slower than in our folklore we believe it is rising right now. So by 2048, India will reach its population peak of about 160 crore people. Once India gets to that, India will then begin to decline, because then India's fertility rate will begin to decline, because by that time education, contraception, other things, everything is changing. India's total fertility rate is going down every year. So by 2048, then a turnaround will begin and India's population will start going down. So 2100, India will be 1.09 crores, not 1.9 crores, don't make that mistake, 109 crores, 1.09 billion. China will be 73.2 billion. So China, which is today 140 plus crores or 1.41 billion, China's population will peak in 2024, just as India's peaks in 2048. China's will peak at 143 crores, and from there China's population will begin to decline. So according to this projection, by 2100, India will have again 109 crore people, China will have just over 79 crore people. So India will be a much larger country by population than China, but a much smaller country by population as compared to today. In fact, if you look at these projections, what will be the ranking by population in 2100? India number 1, 109 crores. Number 2 is a big surprise because it's not China. China is dropping at number 3. Number 2 is Nigeria at 79.1%. Nigeria, which is today just over 20%. So just as a country like China will reduce its population by 40%, at least 40-45% in these 80 years, India will reduce its population by almost 27-28%. Nigeria will quadruple its population. Why? Because Nigeria's fertility rate, total fertility rate, even today, like that of many of its neighboring countries, is upwards of 5%, and I will give you some of this data later. And once again, social change and socio-economic change is not coming so fast that there will be a change. In fact, for this subcontinent, this news is quite interesting. So as I said, India number 1, 109 crores, Nigeria number 2, 79 crores, China number 3, 73 crores, USA number 4, 33.6 crores, but very importantly, Pakistan. which today has a population increasing very, very rapidly, almost twice the rate of India. Pakistan also will peak in the course of time, and by 2100, Pakistan's population will not be less than what it is now, unlike India and China's, but Pakistan's will be about 25 crores, 24.8 crores, it's about 21 crores now. So there'll be an increase, but not that much, which means there is a change in the subcontinent. And if you want to see how substantive this change is, how big this change is, look at what will happen in Bangladesh. That is the biggest change. Bangladesh in 2017 had a population of 15.7 crores. 15.7 crores. Its fertility rate, TFR, of 1.73. So it's almost coming, it is now below replacement levels, but there is a momentum from the past that carries on. By 2039, it will peak, but peak very slowly. By 2039, Bangladesh will peak at 17.7 crores only. That is compared to today's 15.7. And then it will begin to decline. And once again, what will be Bangladesh's population? It will be 8 crores, 8.1 crores. So in 2000, Bangladesh's population will be less than a third of Pakistan's. Today, it is maybe about 25% less than Pakistan. By 2100, it will be less than a third of Pakistan's. What does it tell you? It tells you which country is going faster up the ladder of socio-economic figures, quality of life, standards of living. So Bangladesh will be going far ahead. There is an implication there. There are lots of people here who think Bangladeshis, all this, I hate to say these things, but this metaphor is used. Bangladeshis produce like rabbits and they are all coming into India. The fact is that Bangladesh's population is now rising much more slowly than even India's. And in the period of time when India reduces its population by 25%, Bangladesh will reduce it by almost 50%, in fact more than 50% from the peak. Also, Bangladesh will peak in 2039, India will continue rising till 2048, and in fact, as things stand, maybe because this study also looks at mortality, it looks at fertility, it also looks at migration, because countries which are short of people then and which are short of labor will then be thinking about allowing migration from outside. So countries with higher population or faster population growth will then be candidates for exporting labor to countries with rapidly declining populations. Bangladesh, mind you, will be one of them. So this is how the world is today changing. Now you can add all the various variables. There are uncertainties, we don't know what will happen, but just look at some basics according to this report. Number one, look at India. 2017, and you will see many graphics as we speak. 2017, India's population estimated at 138 crores with a total fertility rate of 2.14%. By 2100, as we know, we expect it to come down to 109 crores and TFR, total fertility rate, of 1.29%, peaking in 2048 at 160 crores. Now that should be India's target, one, to flatten that curve. That's very important. But I do believe that the way India's socio-economic indicators have changed and the way awareness is coming into India, I think India will never reach 160 crore now. India will flatten that curve for sure. Because our experience tells us that we Indians are very wise people, and over the decades we have proven the population doomsayers wrong. Remember in 1951 our TFR was upwards of 5, the same level as Nigeria is now, and if we were still there, then at that level we would have quadrupled our population by 2100. So India has made very big strides which were unexpected, without coercion, without forced sterilization, without disincentives, without anything, because people are becoming smarter and women are becoming better educated and women have access to more contraception. So those are the big changes right now in India. Pakistan, estimated 2017 21.4 crores, peak 24.8 crores in 2100, the peak of 31.4 crores in 2062. So once again, the later you peak, the worse it is for you. So you have to not just flatten the curve of how high you reach and how steeply you reach, but also when you reach your peak. So the earlier you reach your peak is the better it is. So Bangladesh, China 2024 in the region is the best. Bangladesh 2039 is excellent. India 2048 is good but can be a lot better. There is still almost 3 decades left for that and there is much work to do. Pakistan 2062 is not looking so good compared to others, but once again, even Pakistan is not going to have an uncontrolled booming population like much of sub-Saharan Africa. Nepal, look at a country like Nepal, which we see as a very poor, underdeveloped country. It's a wrong stereotype. These are scars on our minds. Nepal 2017 population 2.9 crores, estimated to go down to 1.8 crores. That low. China, we've told you about already. It today has a total fertility rate of about 1.53%. It's going down further, will go down to 1.35, 1.4. So that's how it will not be replacing its population. Its numbers will be going down. So these are the big changes that are happening around the world. Nigeria, we told you, has a total today TFR of 5.11. Again, countries in the same region, Mali has 6.02, Niger has 7.08. These populations will boom for the next 30, 40, 50 years. Chad has 6.72. So this study, on the other hand, the Lancet believes that the world population, global population will peak in 2064 at 9.64 billion. 964 billion people all over the world, but by 2100 it would have declined to 8.64 billion or 864 crores. And how does the difference come in? Because they say that their calculations show that sub-Saharan Africa will have 70 crore people fewer than what the UNPD shows, and South Asia will have 58.4% people fewer. Now these two regions are the population engines of the world. World population, the train of world population runs on these two engines, Sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. South Asia actually is making a much bigger improvement than most people would have imagined. It's quite pleasantly counterintuitive. India now, compared to how the populations will go, India's population will be 51% lower from its peak. Now this will have many implications. So I am also sharing with you a statement by Population Foundation of India on what lessons it has for India, what cautions it has for India, and what do we need to do. So one of the things that will change is working age population. India is today a very young country. Our average age is 29 years. But as we produce fewer babies, we are producing fewer babies. In fact, the number of babies in India or number of Indians below the age of 5 peaked in 2007 and has been declining since. Similarly, number of Indians below the age of 15 peaked in 2011 and has been declining significantly year on year since then. So India's average age will now go up, and as our population growth comes down, this demographic dividend will become something else. This will not disappear, but this will become something else. Now, how will we manage it? Now, I have a graphic which is very crudely drawn, but you will see one on the screen that might be more intelligible for you. That tells you what happens to your workforce, that is people in working age. So this is, if this is India in 1960, this is China in 1960. China peaked in around 2012-13. China peaked in 2012-13 at about 105 crores and began to decline. India, on the other hand, is still rising. India will peak somewhere around 2027-28 at around 97 crore. That is 97 crore people in working age. That is when India gets to about 95-97 crores in 2027-28, the Chinese and Indian graphs of working age population will intersect. And then both will begin to decline. China begins to decline earlier. India will begin to decline a bit later because India still keeps rising for some time, and decline to a certain level by 2100, which means by 2100 both would have declined heavily. So if you again go to this Population Foundation of India statement, it says that in 2017 India had 76 crore people who were working class or working age adults. That number in 2100 will come to 58 crore. So India will have much fewer working people and many more people who will be depending on them. So India's dependency ratio will then go up. So to give you one larger indicator, by 2100 we are likely to have more people over the age of 80 years than people below the age of 15 years. So that is what happens when a society ages and when its dependency ratio goes up. Now different societies have handled it differently. The Japanese, the most unconventional, because they also don't like immigration, because they are very possessive about their racial, cultural, linguistic homogeneity. So they, as they are younger people, the percentage of younger people went down, they just increased the working age for their people. So the number of people, the percentage of people who might have fallen in their below 65 workforce, they just added by increasing their above 65 workforce. So people older than 65 are now working in Japan. That is the way they have handled it. Now, how does India handle it and how do other countries handle it? So the study also talks about one more thing, which is immigration. Now, how will America keep its population more or less constant by that time? Because America also is not producing babies at replacement levels. That's because America is a country that likes immigration. So they will allow immigration, Britain will allow immigration, and then you will see how that will have other impacts going ahead. Maybe some countries in South Asia will allow immigration and some will become suppliers of working class people or suppliers of labor. If you look at the picture within India, once again I refer to the PFI statement, they show that states like, progressive states like Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Punjab, Delhi, which have now reached replacement levels much faster than the rest of the country, they will now have to focus a lot more on their social system, on their health systems to look after older people. Maybe more old age homes have to come in. Whereas states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, etc., which still have this population situation out of control, they will then become sources of labor and working people as internal immigration suppliers within the country, because India is a continental sized country. Now looking at all this study also tells you how the various economies may stack up in the next 80 years. So 2017, if you see the global rankings, it's US, China, Japan, Germany, France, India, Brazil. India at number 7, Brazil at number 8. 2030, it will not change so much. In fact, it will remain more or less the same. So it will be US, China, Japan, India. India now goes to 4 from 7. US, China, Japan, India, Germany, UK, France, Brazil. 2050, a big shift takes place. It will be China, that they'll become number 1. China, US, India will be number 3. Will be number 3 now. China, US, India, Japan, Germany, UK, France, Brazil. Brazil stays at number 8. By 2100, because all this is linked to population trends. If these trends are right, by 2100, the ranking will be US will be back at the top. So it will be US, China, India, Japan, Germany, France, UK, Australia and Brazil will drop out. So that's where you are. These are very important trends. So number one, our population picture does not look as scary and alarming. We should congratulate ourselves for a good job we have done. Second, there is time still for us to flatten this peak and also to arrive at this peak much earlier than before, because this is the opposite of coronavirus. The earlier you arrive at the peak, the better, but the peak has to be flatter. Number three, remember that India's demographics are going to change. Number four, invest in your women and invest in your public health care, because a lot more of the older people will need care going ahead. And finally, increase your national incomes. Don't worry about moving towards automation, etc., because in the course of time, you will have less and less people working and not more and more. It's not as if the story is that you will have endlessly a line of millions and millions and millions more to feed. Think about it. If today's production in India, agriculture production, I'm talking about food, it's surplus for 138 crore people. So if you see the growth, even 2% agricultural growth over the next 80 years, how much more food will India produce than will be needed by 109 crore people? So stop worrying so much about numbers. This is not the 60s anymore. This is not the 70s anymore. Stop worrying about coercion, about laws for birth control. Indians are smart people. We Indians are doing it. So prepare for this new future whereby we can turn it to our advantage rather than suddenly discovering that what we called as demographic dividend is now gone and a demographic liability has come in.